Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining our monthly Education Advocates meeting. Happy holidays to all of you. We are waiting for snow here. I don't know if in your area you are lucky enough to have a little snow right now, but here in Helena, we haven't gotten too much snow just yet. We're excited to have you join us today as we have the opportunity to share with you updates from various units of the OPI and programs here. And so we're glad to get started and share that with you. First up on our agenda is our ESSER update with Wendy Fons. So Wendy, are you there? I don't see Wendy just yet. I know my computer was wanting to do an update and I think I stopped it for the moment. So hopefully it will stay working here for the duration of the meeting. So I'll go ahead and jump into my, I'm up next. I should introduce myself here. And I am Christy Mockstutz. I'm the Assistant Superintendent here at the OPI, and I am going to share about our early literacy interventions. This was House Bill 352. It's now been codified into the Montana Code Annotated, Title 20, Chapter 7, Section 18. And we're really enthusiastic about this program because it is the intent of this legislation is to bring a lot of collaboration between families and schools, between agencies, and between agencies and schools and families. There are 3 early literacy targeted interventions identified in this legislation. They can be classroom-based, home-based program, and a Jumpstart program. And the home-based program is going to be an RFP. We're putting out a request for proposals for nonprofit entities to put in a proposal to support this home-based program for eligible students. More information on that will be coming, but the RFP is in process, and we will keep you updated on the dates of that. The Jumpstart program is prior to the school year in the summer. Eligible students who come into the school for a Jumpstart program to increase that literacy intervention, very literacy focused, are then eligible for A and B counts for an additional 25% or quarter count for the A and B. So that's something for schools to consider as we go forward. And then the evaluation methodologies. The Board of Public Education right now is identifying the methodology for schools, districts to identify eligible students and what that means. Once they've come to those decisions, hopefully in their January meeting, I know that is up for an action item for them in January, our 2 full-time FTE, Jackie Roning and Kimberly Evans, will be preparing guidance and support for schools and districts to understand that evaluation methodology and what that means, and how to analyze the data. And the Board of Public Education is also preparing a list of tools that will help schools identify this. And so we will be preparing the guidance and support for districts around that when those decisions are made. Brian, you can click to the next screen. We've had 2 meetings with our OPI Early Literacy Collaborative. We met November 29th and December 13th. Our next meeting will be January 24th. We have agendas and summary documents of those meetings available online, so you can follow along with the collaborative and its work. This collaborative works closely with the BPE's Early Literacy Advisory Council, and we have Lori Barron is on our collaborative and is also on the council. Mary Judish, one of our OPI, our teaching and learning manager, is on the council and she attends the meetings in a support role. And we try to keep a very close connection to what the Board of Public Education's Early Literacy Council is their work so that it can inform our work here at the OPI to support schools in their implementation. And then you can see a list of our collaborative members there underneath the map. And we've tried to have a broad representation from across the state on that collaborative to support our implementation work on this legislation. And the next slide shows a timeline just of upcoming events, and specifically in regards to this early literacy work here at the agency. We're finalizing an RFP. Our collaborative is meeting monthly. Our specialists are continuing to work to build the guidance documents and get more and more information out to schools around this legislation. We will keep track of the Board of Public Education as they are working on standards updates for those early childhood education standards. Then March and April will be when we'll make those decisions on that home-based program. We'll continue the guidance and outreach. And May and June is when the support really comes in, and in April for schools starting to use and look at these evaluation methodologies. And then we'll be working with whatever vendor is chosen through the RFP process to prepare for that home-based program launch as well. So it's a very busy timeline in regards to the early literacy interventions here at the OPI, but we are really excited for the work. We're happy for the collaboration, and we're really looking forward to moving forward with this. Our next update is the transformational learning update with Crystal Smith. And I think I saw Crystal on here. I hope I did.
Good morning. Yes, I am.
Thanks, Crystal.
So good morning. Thank you for providing some time to talk to you about two different events. I think mine are back to back. So Christy, if it's all right with you, I will just present both and then ask for questions in between. So in my role as Education Innovation Manager, I have the privilege of overseeing the Transformational Learning Grant. In the most recent legislative session, it's funded through Senate Bill 8. As I see some familiar faces and folks on here, I just wanted to provide an overview of what the Transformational Learning Grant is and what it's designed to do, as far as some parameters for funding and how that funding is allocated. So as you can see on the screen, the purpose of transformational learning is really to be able to provide a flexible system of pupil-centered learning, as well as focus around proficiency-based. Requires districts to eliminate seat time as a measure of student proficiency, and then really supporting students' interest, needs, culture, passions, and strengths to design what the educational system should look like for them, as well as to reach the full educational potential of every student. So the Transformational Learning Grant funds districts who apply for 4 consecutive years. As it's wrote into legislation right now, this current bill will sunset in fiscal year 27. So we are looking at 3 more years of funding for this grant. Districts are qualified by the Board of Public Education after they apply, and we're currently in the fiscal year 25 application window. That window will close January 8th at 5 p.m. At that point, all newly applying districts and districts who are currently funded that increase or request an increase of FTE will go into a lottery system. That lottery is conducted by the Carroll College Math Department. And then at that point, that will organize districts in the continuum of funding based on priority as to where they fall out of that lottery system. Once districts are funded, they are requalified for funding for the following year based on an annual report that is submitted and then again qualified by and approved by the Board of Public Education. I wanted to provide a checklist here. I know, as I said, we're in about the middle of this fiscal year 25 application window. So if you have any stakeholders or folks out there that may be approaching you as far as a transformational learning grant, I really wanted to simplify what that application process looks like. So first and foremost, districts must have a strategic plan that's published that guides their practices, grading policies, and has been approved by their individual school boards. That strategic plan must talk about their transformational learning plan. Districts also then identify the FTE within their staff that will help carry out their district's definition of proficiency that does not require seat time as part of their transformational learning plan. You'll see there that definition of proficiency, again, making sure that that drives all of the actions, the grading, the policies within each classroom that is facilitated by that identified FTE. And then districts complete and submit their application. Applications must be signed via motion through a scheduled board meeting. And then the submission actually happens on the OPI Transformational Learning webpage. Finally, I want to close just providing some examples around the state. We are currently in the 5th year of transformational learning funding. Excuse me. And so from that, as it began with an incentive to innovate, there have been several innovative practices that we have shared from around the state that districts, leaders, and teachers have shared in some collaborative spaces. And so I just wanted to provide those for you here on the screen, as you can see the impact of these dollars and what they are doing to really provide that individualized, personalized opportunity for student learning, whether you know, it's a post-secondary pathway that they're pursuing, or perhaps an opportunity to do some internships and work in into the, like, go straight into industry. But these are a lot of the different elements and impacts from this funding from districts that have been either fully funded and are no longer funded, or currently within their 4-year funding cycle. And at that point, I believe I will pause for questions before moving on to residency. Hi, Angela, good morning. Oh, you're muted. Oh, maybe not. I just can't hear you.
Yep, we can't hear you, Angela. Okay. Sounds like she's going to log out and log back in again.
Okay.
Give her a second here. Crystal, if you want maybe to go ahead and do your teacher residency, and then we can have her question after that section.
Yep, sounds great, Chrissy. So in my role, I also oversee the teacher residency demonstration. We're currently in our 2nd year of this project. We have 23 students across the state that have been placed. This map shows you their location of placement. And they come from 3 EPPs around our state. Montana Western, where the majority of our students, our resident students come from. We have a student from MSU Northern, and then 3 students from Montana State who are part of this year's residency project. The residency demonstration really has 5 key stakeholders that work together hand in hand to provide a quality full year teaching residency experience for those residents who are interested in this model. Obviously, the first is a resident. We currently have 20 undergrad students and 3 master students that are participating in this year. The next becomes a teacher leader. So the teacher leader comes from the district. They sign on for a full year of having this resident student within their classroom to guide, to mentor, and really provide that authentic learning opportunity for the resident student to see what it looks like to facilitate and mentor student learning from the very beginning of the school year all the way through the end. The next stakeholder of this is the district partner. The district partner provides some type of living stipend or compensation to the residents. So some districts provide a monthly payment. Some districts are providing actual housing because they have district housing for teachers. Some districts are providing mileage. So what we call it is a skin in the game, right? So the district partners are benefiting by having a resident, very similar to like having a full-time paraprofessional within their school district. And so they also provide compensation for the placement of their teacher. The other very valuable stakeholder in this model is our educator prep program. As I said, we have 3 currently participating this year. The University of Montana had a student that participated last year. But the key with our educator prep program is that they provide an online learning opportunity for their students, because these students are in the classroom about 90 or about 80% of the week, and then out of the classroom or out of their residency classroom about 20% of the time to continue to work on their coursework that they're doing simultaneously through the residency placement. And then finally is the OPI. We partner with a hub and spoke model I'm going to talk about here on the next slide to really recruit districts and then work with the EPPs as they look to recruit and support residents who are interested in this model. Christy, why don't you go one more slide, because I think this ties in better, and then I'll come back to the different offerings. So we currently utilize a hub and spoke model. So that's the OPI working with Montana Western. They have a full-time 1 FTE to really work on the residency recruitment side of things, the placements, the evaluations. And then the OPI is currently facilitating any out-of-state EPPs that have students that are interested. We know that we have several soon-to-be teachers in the state of Montana working through outside universities through online courses that have reached out and interested in how they can complete their student teaching requirements through a residency model. And this has worked really well. It's minimized the amount of time to really work with all of our EPPs around the state, as they have one central hub in Montana Western to help work with the recruitment and the placement and the payment side of things. And then the OPI is supporting the school districts in trying to find those placements and secure placements for our resident teachers and partnering with lead teachers. And then Christy, if you want to go up one more, I apologize about that. Something that very passionate about that this program provides not just only a placement and a year-long commitment, but there's also additional offerings for the residency program. The first one is learning labs. So our resident teachers will have 4 learning labs throughout this school year. They come together in a collaborative learning environment, some in person, some online, mentored and instructed by folks around the nation to really provide an additional element to their student learning and their practices as they grow to become classroom teachers. Our last in-person one was in Havre in October. Wonderful to really come together, and we held it at Montana Northern on the campus there, and it's nice to see, almost like a family of residents, right? Our 23 residents came together, really picked up where they left off in August after our orientation, and support and continue to challenge and really champion each other's learning in the classroom. Another element of this is a professional learning. So we continue to offer professional learning opportunities for our lead teachers, so they also experience the professionalism of being a lead teacher. Our most recent one, we brought in some folks from the East Coast virtually to continue to support the graduate profile and what that implementation looks like within our state. As we know, our legislation continues to move that way in a proficiency personalized model as well as a graduate profile. So really working to align our professional learning and learning labs to those initiatives that are being directed by the state. Again, that community of learning, just essential for where we are, right? We are in year 2 of residency. Students are, as we continue to build and develop this program, students are coming together, providing input, providing, what they would like to see changed. And then we're listening to that stakeholder feedback and continuing to improve. And then the financial compensation. So districts are providing that living stipend, as I talked about, but then also students are receiving a monthly stipend to support their individual living needs while they commit to being a part of the residency program, and then also commit to teaching in the state of Montana upon earning their teaching license. And we feel that all these offerings really just help support the recruitment and retention of quality Montana teachers within our state. And that really is the ultimate goal of this residency demonstration. I want to leave you with 2 testimonials, one from a resident, one from a lead teacher, on how this demonstration and their participation in this model has truly grown them as individuals, as classroom teachers, and how they felt that their time was significantly valued, as well as their skills and crafted improved and increased from the experience and the exposure that they were able to receive as being a part of the residency program. So Angela, I see you're back on. If you want to ask your transformational learning question, and then also available to answer any residency questions that folks may have.
Thanks so much, Crystal. Can you hear me now?
I can, yes. Good morning.
Super. Well, two very good reports, and it actually worked out well that I can speak to both of them. First of all, I'd like to begin with the residency presentation, and I'd like to express my sincere appreciation to you, Crystal, and to Luke Lewis down at the University of Montana Western. You folks have really hammered out the operations of this residency model. And I know that that wasn't easy. This is brand new to Montana. And I know that our teams at OPI and the OCHI, we've been working on the high level pieces, which allow the money to flow. But at the end of the day, none of that matters if there aren't good folks like you doing the operations work day in and day out. And I just want to compliment you and thank you both publicly for that, because I don't know how much folks know about the day-to-day work that you have done along with Luke at UM Western to make this so successful. And so I just want to express my heartfelt appreciation to both of you for managing the intricacies of the operations. One of the pieces that I did want to point to as far as the residency, as per the statute and the next round of funding from the legislature is the clawback component. And our office will be managing that in partnership with data that we receive from the Office of Public Instruction. And basically, if a resident doesn't complete the program or doesn't teach in Montana for 3 or more years within 5 years of completing the residency program, the grant will then convert to a loan. So that is just one of the changes that we'll see with this next round of funding coming from the legislature. But all that aside, I think that we're in for another good round of residency, thanks to you, Crystal, and thanks to Luke at UM Western, and to everybody who has really had a good, clear vision of what we needed as far as the residency being another piece in Montana's efforts to most fully address our educator recruitment and adequate placement efforts across the state. And
Angela,
then
I just wanted to share with you, I would be remiss if I didn't to share this with the team, but like the words that you say about the innovation and the excitement around residency is not only within our state, but actually at the national level. So we had the Best Practices Clearinghouse from the Department of Education actually come to Montana, interviewed folks out of Great Falls, Vaughan, and Browning, and they will be creating a publication around the Montana teacher residency program. So it was picked out of several projects that were submitted to the Department of Education to come and highlight as far as a best practice and what states can do to improve recruitment and retention of teachers. As we know, it's not only an issue in Montana, but nationally. So we are very excited that when that gets done, hopefully here in the next couple of months from their production crew, to be able to share that, and that will help generate the word of mouth and the excitement around this, as I really do feel it is life-changing. And that's what we continue to hear from anywhere from, district leaders to the actual residents who are in the classrooms learning. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you and congratulations. Entirely well-deserved. And then if I could just point quickly to the transformational piece, in particular, the university system has been watching the credential piece and the connections through transformational learning to post-secondary on-ramps. And I just wanted to point folks who are on the call today to 2 programs. One that is being developed right now, and it is a partnership with the Education Design Labs. Montana is the first and only state in the country where every single one of our 2-year campuses have engaged in writing micro pathways and developing those. And those would be pathways where students of all ages can sign on and earn a credential within a year or less. and dual enrollment will be a key component of that. Transformational learning, I think, in some of our districts will certainly be a key component to that. And then one other piece that I wanted to point you to, which is funded through the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation. It's a Montana's Future at Work, and the whole drive behind that is to graduate our high school students with a workforce credential before they leave high school. And so a lot of transformational connections there with the work out of the OPI, and then of course the next steps happening in the Montana University system. So a lot of good strategic connections being made, I think, with transformational learning and with workforce credentials in the Montana University system. So thanks for that good update, Crystal, and for the good work that continues to be done on that front.
Absolutely. And just adding to that, the Montana State University course, I am just finished my course on Sunday. So for those of you who might want to learn more about proficiency and competency-based education, there is that Montana State University course that provides an 8-week overview and some learning objectives around how you can really implement transformational learning and move towards a more transformative learning opportunity for your students. So thank you, Angela, for those additional tidbits. Appreciate it.
Thanks to both of you. Thanks, Angela. Thanks, Crystal. We started out sort of talking about collaboration, and there we see it right in action, working together to support all of our students in Montana. So our next agenda item is a MAST update with Tressa Gravely. Tressa, I see you on. So MAST is another wonderful, innovative program happening here in Montana. So I'm happy to hear this update.
Yes, thank you, Christy. Good morning. I am Tressa Gravely, the MAST Assessment Specialist in the Assessment Unit of the Teaching and Learning Department. As we embark on our second year of the MAST pilot, there are notable updates and changes that I'd like to share with you. Okay, so on August 10th of this year, the Montana OPI obtained the federal double testing waiver to eliminate the burden of double testing for our Montana districts and students participating in the MAST pilot. MAST through-year participating districts take testlets in English language arts and math in grades 3 through 8 in 5 testing windows scheduled throughout the school year. ELA testlets are administered in testing window number 1, 3, and 5, with an English performance task administered in window 4. The ELA testlet schedule is the same for all participating districts and is structured as a beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year schedule, with content increasing in complexity with each testing administration. Math testlets are aligned with the local scope and sequence and pacing of each district's curriculum. In the early fall, districts engaged in the completion of a curriculum configurator tool, a pivotal step in aligning those math testlets to individual curriculum and pacing of districts. The variation in the number of testlets within each testing window reflects the unique scheduling decisions made by those districts, and detailed schedules tailored to the preferences of participating through your districts were communicated individually to ensure clarity and alignment. And so Montana's journey towards this innovative assessment involves a thorough process aimed at addressing the dual objectives of federal accountability and instructional utility. And MAST is on track to replace the Smarter Balanced Assessment for the 2024-2025 school year. And next, we'll look at completion rates. So during the first testing window, the completion of ELA testlets showcased commendable performance across participating Montana school districts. So of the 53 total participating districts, 51 achieved the benchmark of 90% or higher. Here we can see the breakdown of the ELA completion achievements. 7 districts fell within the 90 to 94% completion category. A substantial 28 districts demonstrated completion rates at 95 to 99% range, and an outstanding achievement of 16 districts achieving a perfect 100% testlet completion for English language arts. And next, we will see the math testlets administered in testing window 1 reflect a similar Completion rates of the 53 participating districts, 50 achieved 90% or higher. 6 districts fell in the 90 to 94% category. 30 districts achieved 95 to 99% completion, and 14 districts achieved a perfect 100% completion on math testlets in window 1. So this collective effort in testing window 1 reflected a strong commitment to the testing process and set a positive precedent for subsequent testing windows. So testing window 2 just concluded on Friday, December 15th, and only math testlets were administered during this testing window. Montana school districts demonstrated commendable performance again in completing these math testlets. In this overview, we have 47 of 52 participating districts achieving the benchmark of 90% or higher completion rates. 9 fell in the 90 to 94% completion category, 23 in the 95 to 99%, and an outstanding 15 districts achieving a perfect 100% completion rate on math testlets in testing window 2. And next, I'll cover what we are reporting to the U.S. Department of Education. So as part of the approval for the 1-year flexibility waiver, the department has requested that the Montana OPI submit 2 items. The first is a sample parent report for a student participating in the MAST pilot, which includes the student score report, as well as the score report interpretation guide that correlates with the parent report. A school score report dissemination guidance document has been sent to districts to help provide guidance to parents and guardians on important interpretation considerations. And the second submitted item to the department is OPI's business rules for determining participation on the new through-year assessment, which outlines the overview of the 2023-2024 MAST model, the business rules for participation in the through-year assessment, and the student participation monitoring plan. Each participating school is expected to assess all eligible students at a participation rate of at least 95%. And full participation includes completion of all assigned ELA and math testlets. In-window monitoring can be completed at the district and the school level using the dashboard feature within the Kite platform. Districts and schools can also pull student-level completion reports to identify student testing progress within each testing window. And then in-window monitoring by the OPI includes general and targeted outreach 3 to 4 times throughout each window. General outreach is provided to all participating districts, system test coordinators, and authorized representatives, with subsequent targeted outreach to the system test coordinator, principal, and superintendent of each school not reaching completion thresholds. Schools that are substantially under a 95% completion participation rate in each window will be contacted by the OPI to better understand the participation discrepancy and provide support and next steps. And the OPI will continuously monitor subgroup participation, including students with disabilities, including the use of the PNPs or accommodations within the platform, students from major racial and ethnic groups, and English language learners. So while most tests that are in pilot phase do not deliver student results, the MAST pilot does deliver raw student data, which becomes available to participating districts approximately 10 business days after the conclusion of a testing window. A live professional development opportunity was offered to districts on November 21st of this year to aid them in comprehending how to interpret and utilize this year's student score report. A recording of this professional development session has also been available to districts on the OPI MAST webpage and through weekly district outreach. Looking ahead to next year, when MAST becomes a statewide assessment, prototypes for our future student score reports are described as being significantly more robust and timelier compared to the raw student data reports that are generated this year. And of course, stakeholder engagement plays a pivotal role in the MAST pilot. Throughout the iterative process of developing MAST, Stakeholders are provided with opportunities to actively contribute, such as participating in live listening and feedback sessions scheduled for the Tuesday following the conclusion of each testing window. We actually have one scheduled for today at the conclusion of testing window 2. These sessions serve as valuable means to gather feedback on what was effective and then identify areas that require improvement or enhancements. We also have Montana educators playing a vital role in shaping and refining this locally crafted assessment. A dedicated team of passionate teachers from across Montana forms the MAST educator cadre, actively participating in test item writing and review. The expertise and valuable insights contributed by Montana's educators are crucial in ensuring the quality and relevance of the MAST assessment. Through their active involvement, these educators are significantly influencing the MAST assessment process, ultimately benefiting Montana students. Further opportunities for educators to engage in educator cadres will be available. We are also having one-on-one interviews and classroom observations and site visits. Provides an opportunity to engage in candid conversations with individuals close to the assessment challenges. Our testing vendor, New Meridian, in coordination with OPI representatives, has been involved in conducting on-site visits to schools during test administrations. These visits allow for the observation of students interacting with the testlets and the KITE platform in the classroom, followed by a post-observation discussions with participating teachers and administration. Student cognitive interviews, or COG labs, are studies aimed at understanding the cognitive processes students employ during assessments. These studies generate data that evaluates the validity of assessment measurement claims, and the interviews are conducted virtually in collaboration with schools. And finally, we have educator and student surveys. They are designed to collect information about the experiences and the perceptions of those participating in MAST. Student surveys are administered through the KITE portal and will be scheduled to occur during 2 of the 5 administration windows. So this overview has provided the most recent insight into the evolution of the MAST assessment and its progressive implementation, setting the stage for a transformative shift in statewide assessments. With that concludes my updates. Are there any questions regarding MAST?
Thank you, Tressa, for that wonderful update on this incredible program that we are really leading the nation with here in Montana. Our next agenda item is for the plan for processing the Board of Public Education's increase to teacher licensing fees with Crystal Andrews, our licensing and accreditation manager. And Crystal, I'm pretty sure I saw you here, so we're ready for you. Oh, I think you're muted.
Oh man, it's Tuesday. I said I was a blue screen. Now you can't hear me. I apologize, but I think I'm here. Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal Andrews. I'm the Director of Accreditation and Licensure at the OPI. I'm here to briefly talk to you about the increase in teacher license or educator licensing fees effective January 1, 2024. This is per House Bill 403. Make sure I'm getting that right. It is. So on November 17th, the OPI's chief legal, Jay Phillips, presented to the Board of Public Ed with the superintendent's recommendations for the implementation of House Bill 403. The BPE considered but did not approve the superintendent's recommendation and instead approved the Board of Public Ed's licensure subcommittee's recommendations. If I can share my screen, Brian, I think would probably be the easiest. Got it. Thank you. So you can just briefly look as I'm talking. So having only 6 weeks since the board approved the changes, we are diligently working to meet that January 1st deadline to get these updates in the Teach Montana licensure system. I have one staff member who is fully invested in this effort, and we have an IT person as well. And they are working in collaboration with our programmers, the Randa team. You will see the system will be under maintenance for the first few days of January to get these fees in place. And this is because we want to be sure that the licensure fees stay the current rate through December 31st. So if there are anybody that are, applying or wanting to get an application in prior to these changes, the rates will be what they currently are through December 31st, and at midnight, January 1. We'll be saying Happy New Year, but also those fees will be switching over. And so that maintenance effort will be taking place so that during that first week, it will be live with those new fees. It is not just switching numbers, unfortunately, within the system. I wish it was that easy. I tried to do that myself and got laughed at by our IT folk. There's a lot of code writing, a lot of business rules that have to change. We have the capacity to get the effort done, but it does take a lot. It is an effort, a group effort, and we will be working to get that done for that first week of January. As we know, teachers are eager, and we get a ton of renewals that first week of January, as being the first that a 2024 applicant can apply is January 1st. And I think we looked for last year, we had like 300 renewals just that first 2 weeks of January. So we want to make sure that it's accurate, that it's ready to go, and there aren't any hiccups. So we will be testing and making sure that's the case. And you will be able to see those changes in the system along with on our webpage. I will put it in the bulletin. We're doing a lot of marketing PR just so that folks know that this change is coming and why it's coming. And that is really all I have today, unfortunately, talking about increases in pricing around the holidays, but wishing you all happy holidays. And obviously, if you have questions, I'm here and we will navigate this together, getting this out to folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal, for that update. Next on our agenda is our standards update with Marie Judish. And I saw Marie on the line, so I think she is ready to go.
Yes, I just need to steal screen real quick and I'll be ready. Good morning, everyone, and happy holidays. Lots of work going on within the content standard revisions, and we are excited to see the progress that we've made. So I'm just going to give a brief overview of everything we've been doing. Currently, we have 4 standards open. And you will see right here the timeline for all 4 of them. In general, we're right on schedule, but also have some wiggle room, given the fact that some of the teams needed more time and just really dug into the standard revisions and wanted to make sure that what they passed forward to the Board of Public Ed and the superintendent was really worth it for our Montana students. So you'll see here, I'm going to go through the 4 different sets. English language proficiency standards are the furthest along for the standard sets. It's currently ready for the Board of Public Ed adoption phase and is an action item for their January meeting. It has been reviewed and refined by the Superintendent's Task Force and Negotiated Rulemaking Committee. In general, there's 2 main things that you'll see. Updated language to match the WIDA English Language Development 2020 framework, which truly it took out 1 word, which was the word must, from the original version to the new. And then maintain language for both proficiency standards and the performance level descriptors. So not a lot changing in there, but worth the look to make sure that we were updated to the most recent research and best practices. For languages content standards, it is still in the negotiated rulemaking phase. We have done consensus building on proposed rules, and we are in the middle of an economic impact survey to stakeholders, just making sure that we realize what these rule changes could do, whether it's a benefit or cost to districts, as well as the agency and Montana education in general. Summary of the proposed rules includes moving them from Chapter 54 to Chapter 53. This is the last set of content standards that still resides in Chapter 54, and I know that the Board of Public Ed wants to use that for some other things. They are in alignment with the American Council of the Teaching of Foreign Languages, or the actual standards. You can see why they use that acronym. Also with some very intentional, authentic inclusion of Montana Indigenous peoples throughout the proposed standards. So they are in a square 1-to-1, knowing that we have that inclusionary piece there. The mathematics content standards, we are also in the negotiated rulemaking phase. Now the revision phase started in May, and because the work was such a big package and they really wanted to make a lot of thoughtful revisions, it went all the way through November with continued rationale being developed by the task force. So the task force consisted of a development team, review team, and then several subcommittees, including vertical alignment and mathematical practices. Consensus building has taken place on the mathematical practices, and K-5 content standards began in November. And we will continue in January in person or hybrid for those that can't make it in the Capitol for 6th grade through 12th grade standards. And also we consistently go back through the original standards that they've already looked at to make sure that we have a K-12 vertical line. At any point, all of them are open for public comment, and you can email me specifically, or you can join in remotely or in person. The English language arts and literacy content standards, we are currently in the research and review phase. So research is being conducted by the Regional Educational Laboratory Northwest. Applications for the superintendent's task force open in January 15th. And at the end of my presentation, I have about 4 links I'm going to drop in for you, so you have access to all the materials and you can find everything. The facilitation of the task force is going to be conducted by the Region 17 Comprehensive Center at Education Northwest. And I want to point out that both of these resources are given to us for free of charge by the federal government. They have a contract, and it's great to have those outside resources helping us with the research and really making sure we understand best practices and most current research. The revision phase will begin in April 2024, where we will deep dive with the REL and our facilitators on that research, making sure that the task force knows the work ahead of them. With that, I want to make sure you have access to all the links and different resources. So the OPI homepage, you will find how to get to the standards revisions part on the main page. You'll also be able to go into each area where you will find the recordings from negotiated rulemaking, meeting minutes, a lot of the task force working documents, and the summary documents that we've put out there for you. We want to make sure that everything is transparent and very clear so our stakeholders can follow along with the process throughout the revisions. With that, I can stand for a few questions if anyone has any today.
Marie, thank you so much for that update. The standards revision is keeping us busy here at the agency, but it's wonderful work for all of our Montana educators and students. With that, we have come to the end of our agenda. Thank all of you for joining us. The superintendent sends you holiday best wishes for a safe and happy holiday season. And we will look forward to meeting you all again in January at our next Education Advocates meeting. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.